There is a question as old as time itself, something that man has been asking from the very beginning. What is comedy? Why does that make me laugh? Is it important? Is it the very stuff of life itself? Or is it just a defiant toot on the whoopee cushion of existence? Freud said there was no such thing as a joke. But then, how many funny Austrian analysts do you know? There are those who say that the essence of comedy is intangible, that only a fool would seek a definition.
If you've never made anybody laugh in your life, either by telling a joke, making a face, or anything, don't try to do comedy.
This is a fabulous item, okay? All of you hopeful writers out there, this is the way to go. This is sensational.
Well, usually when people ask me advice, or, you know, like how to get into the business or how to make comedy, I mean, I usually just say quit now.
You have to be able to see life in a unique way, and that's what makes you funny, is a different point of view. And if you want to make a movie that's funny...
It really is very technical and very scientific, and you can't, you know, you can't question it. And when you're in there with the audience and there's a laugh, you know it works. And when there's no laugh, see ya.
Hello, Mr. Ganz. We're going in. But I can't write at home. I don't have that kind of discipline. I have to go into a place where this is where I write and I don't do anything else. I'm in a writing place now.
It's a league of their own, the novelization.
It's getting to watch two people ride in an elevator. It's the thrill of your life, I know. This is much better than going to a play or something where you could learn something. We enjoy it a tremendous amount. We're very lucky we do this, we like it, but we also try to approach it like it's a job.
Look at these guys, the stooped over brothers.
How you doing?
Oh, how are you? Boy, thanks for that idea for City Slickers.
The script is everything, and when it fails, it's the script. It's not the actors who failed. Someone could be miscast, that's possible. It's not the director who failed. That shot could have been more beautiful. No, usually the script, the film isn't so good because you tried to spend all your time on making the shot beautiful, and the audience doesn't give a shit. You know, they just want a good story that they can follow, cry, laugh, be involved with. But the script is everything, and you've got to know that going in. Don't waste your time on the other stuff until the script is solid.
If it wasn't here, is it any wonder I can only sleep 16 hours a day? Jack's mother comes running out of the woods, right? That's a smooth transition. All right. People say, do you need, like, to write in a particular place at a particular time? I say, no, I could write day, night, sitting, standing, office, but I cannot write hungry.
And he will do it abruptly. This will go like this, and he'll stop.
Just,
I mean,
it's
and
like...
put the pen down.
Like that, boom. We hate research. Yeah? League of Their Own was the most research we ever had to do, because it was period.
You say we slip in the back seat and you make a man out of me.
What if I smack you around for a while?
Can't we do both?
But we really hate research. City Slickers, we had a 15-minute phone call with a woman in Montana.
What do you think? I think you look like one of the village people.
That was the research.
Who now claims we fathered our children.
Parenthood our whole life was research. Knock it off! The key is that we just want the movies to be possible. These are things that could conceivably happen to human beings. A business might logically run this way, but doesn't have to. We have to get to the point we can talk through the movie, a beginning, a middle, and an end, so that, you know, if put to the test, we could describe the movie in a couple of paragraphs.
Which is what we usually do when we pitch it to a producer.
Comedy's risky because of two reasons. One, nobody really knows why anything is funny. The other aspect of it is everybody thinks he or she has a great sense of humor.
Hi, Buck. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good. What do you got for me?
Okay, here it is. The Graduate, Part 2.
Oh, good.
Now listen, the three principals are still with us. Dustin Hoffman, Anne Bancroft, Catherine Ross. 25 years later.
Yeah, well, the studio wants to know, as much with a comedy as with a melodrama, what as they're getting before they get it, since they have to sell it.
And Mrs. Robinson lives with them. Her aging mother, who's had a stroke.
Mrs. Robinson
has a stroke, so she can't talk.
It's going to be funny?
Yeah, it'll be funny.
With
Dark
a stroke?
and weird and funny and with a stroke.
Okay.
You can't tell the jokes, or you can try, but it's very dangerous to pin a comedy on a joke or two that might not go over in an office.
They've got a daughter who's just graduated from college.
That's good. Young blood.
22, 23-year-old, like a Julia Roberts.
Right.
And that's the hard part. Then there are 2 or 3 other hard parts.
We will chat before we write. We don't write until we're happy, till we've discussed it, performed the scene. Then we go to paper.
We write with our mouths.
Right.
I mean, it's dialogue, you know, it's not prose, and we know what we want the scene to be.
See these cards here? That's the roadmap. That's what we follow. And usually when we come up with a dry area, we go back and see why, and then we rediscuss a different entry into it.
A different attitude, just I don't know. It's not you know
Perhaps,
it's not scientific.
Perhaps bringing a different character into the scene, which will turn the burner up a little bit, and you know you keep trying until you know something hopefully happens.
The most interesting to me was Parenthood. Was the most it was the most complex structurally. I'll show you what I mean. There we go. I don't know how many of you saw Parenthood, but it had 4 separate stories that connected and bumped into each other. To structure each story, but then also fit it into the movie so that the right balance was there and that we were going from one story to the other. We did something sort of childish. We made different colored cards for each of the stories. There was a blue story, a green story, an orange story, and a red story.
You may want to show them this, because you would dynamite with that pen. Here they go.
Remember how exciting it was meeting the ballpoint pen? Now you get to meet our colored markers. It'd be nice, we'll show you our stapler later. It's an entire show about stationery supplies. It's turned into...
Later there'll be an address where you can buy these.
We put it up on the wall. And you could see, actually, I mean, you could get like so basic for a minute where you say, there's too much green here, and you go like an hour with no purple. And we actually were able to not make final decisions that way, but it helped us actually sort of clarify.
You know, when I was 19, Grandpa took me on a roller coaster.
Oh?
Up, down, up, down. Oh, what a ride.
What a great story.
Drama and comedy reside next to each other very comfortably, in that if parts of your movie are not intended to be funny at all, the parts that are intended to be funny don't have to be less funny because they're sharing a movie with scenes that are not intended to be funny.
Well, I'll be seeing you in the car.
She's a very smart lady. Come on, Taylor, your ears are ready.
Yeah, a minute ago I was really confused about life, and then Grandma came in with her wonderful and affecting roller coaster story, and now everything's great again.
It's a story. People stay much more interested in just a series of gags that are unrelated. But even those pictures, like Airplane 1, 2, 4, 7, and they always had a story. It's a fellow who couldn't fly an airplane, and you're worried whether he's going to be able to fly the plane. There's a story. It makes it a little easier to hang your jokes on. If you're just hanging jokes on a hat rack, it's not quite as interesting to an audience.
Good morning, Zucker brothers. No, I'm sorry, he's not available right now. Can I take a message?
for about the last 20 years, my partner Jim Abrams and my brother Jerry have had 10 rules that we followed in comedy, just so we can make our best guess before we actually try the movie out in front of test audiences. So we figured out these 10 rules that just serve as kind of a guideline for us, so we can figure out what will be funny in advance. And the first rule is joke on a joke.
Never do a joke on top of another joke.
Basically, you can only do one joke at a time.
All right, Steve, let's face a few facts.
If a character in the foreground is serious, then you can then do a funny joke or something crazy happening in the background, and vice versa.
Aim the touchdown a third of the way along. Slight crosswind from the right, so be ready for it. Land too fast, use your emergency brakes. Red handle's right in front of you. That doesn't stop you. That doesn't stop you. Cut the 4 ignition switches over the co-pilot's head.
If there's something going on in the background that's funny, like something crashing down or whatever, I can't think of anything right now, but Leslie will be totally serious.
I'm Leslie Nielsen, by the way.
And most of the funny things that he says are delivered straight-faced.
Can you fly this plane and land it?
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
We always say, don't play it straight, play it deadly serious.
Nice beaver.
Thank you. I just had it stuffed.
Let me help you with that.
And now, on with the program.
We will never be directing. You see, to direct, you have to get up very early in the morning. Very early. And you have to speak to people all day long with whom you share no rapport whatsoever. People ask you questions.
What do you think, the drop earrings or this one? Well, I think the drop. And you have to make decisions whether you're equipped to sometimes or not. Or if you're a good director, you say, and you trust the person, say, you choose. But often you're never not on call.
It's a very cool job, see, because you're the king. And there are very few jobs left. You can be like the captain of a ship or the director of a movie where you actually are like a king. But it's not actually a good job. I mean, young, healthy, vigorous people are just not worth crap when the movie's over. They just look like hell, and we already don't look that good.
Okay, let me see what happens, Rosie Madonna.
David Wayans, I think, said that the hardest thing in directing a film is telling your actors how fast to speak, slow to speak. You have no idea what pace it's going to come. And movies take on their own little life. No matter what you do, they seem to have their own thing that comes down the pike somehow.
This way, more in this way. Come the other direction. This side.
The first movie I did, I asked Sidney Pollack, what do you do with the comedy? He said, you shoot it high, low, and in the middle. Protect yourself at all costs. You shoot it high, broad comedy, and no comedy. Do it straight, and then somewhere in the middle.
This is near the end of this very big and complicated scene, which we've been shooting in this room for 3 days.
Here we go, folks.
The scene is Eddie playing a con man, Thomas Johnson. It's very early in the picture.
Okay. Going again.
And he's conning the chairman of a big insurance company out of a lot of cash. This is the scene in which he actually gets his hands on the money and then has to try and make an escape without the guy realizing that it's a con.
Please put your money away, sir. No, it's just that I don't have much cash here. I only have 12,000. Yeah, there's 4 people in the game.
Everyone is going to work. They should have to speak to give the director lots of material for the cutting room. I think is essential, so that because sometimes a joke could be fantastic, but the timing of that joke sometimes is arranged in the cutting room.
If you've got something that isn't really working, you want to lift it out later. So the only way you can do that is with coverage. Sort of long, elegant, smooth, developing shots that encompass a whole scene in one are a safer thing to do in drama than they are in comedy. Because with comedy, you may have to retime a scene later. You may want to compress it later. You may want to lift out a joke that's not working.
So sometimes we are doing a scene and it works perfectly well in the master. And we're very happy in the way that it works. But we must give the director material so that he goes to the cutting room confidently, that he can tight the scene, make it shorter, make it longer, or adjust the timing of the joke.
My absence of flashy camera style is part of the rule number 1, actually, which is joke on a joke. It's, in comedy, I believe that it's best to just record the action. I mean, the characters are either being funny or the background is funny. It's really not the time for me to show off my, my UCLA film school term paper or whatever. Although I didn't go to UCLA, but I couldn't get into UCLA. I actually attended the University of Wisconsin Film School. Had 2 World War II cameras, and and no editing facilities, but brilliant, brilliant theory.
For the most part, comedy works when you see the person who's doing the straight line and the person who's reacting to that straight line in the same shot. So very often comedy is not as elaborately shot as if you were shooting Apocalypse Now. You got to zero in for the joke.
Now, William Wyler once said something to me that I have never forgotten.
That's what we did. Okay. Okay. This is a pickup from. It's
a very tiny.
In a drama, it sometimes doesn't matter if there are no lights, as it were, in the eyes. The eyes can be shadowed. It adds sort of a certain mystery and weight. For people to be funny in a close shot, you must be able to see their eyes. So Gabby and I always make sure that there's light in the eyes.
That's my favorite thing about the John Billings movies. You can see everybody. You go to see an actor, you're going to see him. No matter what their part is, background, they're all seen.
American actors are fantastic. They are so well trained for camera. In Britain, we have a lot of problems with that. But here, I mean, they literally just are doing a 2-shot 50-50, and they play so well for camera that you normally get the 2 eyes. Therefore, the joke, the expressions, the facial expressions, and everything else that accompanies, that goes together with the joke and helps the joke is there in camera.
Really, acting is a courageous business that requires actors to risk making a fool of themselves in public. It's all about confidence. I think if an actor loses his nerve, it's like a trapeze artist losing his nerve. I think you fall off. I think you need to be relaxed and cool and confident, and so I try to avoid tension on the set.
You know this goes against my every principle.
I'm begging you, man to man.
Cutting.
Okay. Happy with that? Good.
That's good.
What?
One section that's halfway through the day, but also halfway through the movie. Very different day. We only half finished the cake, so we have to do. And the second half be as sweet as the first. Okay. Well, I've had lunch. Let's go eat. Thank you.
That's wonderful. And this black and white people coming together.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
That's beautiful.
Okay, let's get rid of the cake.
That's me and Jonathan. I'm the fudge side of the cake, and he's the frosting, vanilla frosting side. Let's go have a chunk, Johnny.
Never look over your shoulder. You don't want to know what's going on behind you.
We do a lot of things that happen in the background because if you did in the foreground, it's not subtle enough. So some things just have to be put in the background so that ostensibly you give the audience credit, in other words, for seeing it. It's not like we're not putting it right up in front of you.
Ed, is it just my imagination, or is the whole world crazy?
No, it's just a small percentage of the population, Frank.
I hope you're right. It's just that I don't know if I fit anymore.
Leslie never looked at the waiter, so he didn't acknowledge the background. However, George Kennedy did. I can't really tell you why that worked. I mean, but Leslie really can't acknowledge stuff, and most characters can't if you do a good background joke.
Let me tell you something, Steve. Ted Spriker was a top-notch squadron leader, a long time ago.
Neither of them acknowledged what was happening, which usually makes for a successful joke, but audiences didn't laugh because it was unrelated. So it was, all in all, it was a disappointment, but nothing like the crash test of the Skoda.
I've worked over the years with a lot of them, Lily Tomlin and Richard Pryor and, Danny DeVito, Albert Brooks. And, I think probably what they all have in common is a very dark side. And I think that in order to really be a great comedian, you also have to know the dark side of life. I mean, lightweight comedians, they're boring. People that haven't really experienced, I mean, a lot of them have actually gone crazy, They're real touchy here. And I think that's what makes them interesting.
Come with me. The adventure begins. All right, we're just going to go to the set now. Is this some clothes for me to wear?
Working with the dark side of these comedians is tricky because, they have mood swings, Like a normal person kind of just goes along during the day in the middle. Well, these guys go way high, and that's when they're really funny, and then they go way low, and that's when my job is difficult, because I kind of got to go fish them out of the dregs of their emotional mess, and bring them back and go, okay, now be funny, dude,
What we're going to do is get this shot with Lynn.
Yes.
Close up on Lynn, you'll be off camera.
Yes.
Then right after that, we're going to go to your shot.
Of me just sort of walking through the thing.
Exactly. So
Gotcha.
Amy,
See, I knew.
They were hoping to do that very quickly right after this. We'll do it.
I don't think comedy is something you learn. You can learn how to be a good actor, but I think the people that generally perform comedy, they have it in them, and if you talk to them off screen, eventually, it may not come out immediately, but eventually you'll see they have a kind of a curve toward life.
This is a guy who tells me stuff. If I could be just a little, blind you with movie science. This is the guy who tells me about stuff.
I was at a dinner party a couple of months ago, and people were talking about acting. I was the only actor there, and a woman said, well, isn't acting fake? And I said, no, this is fake. Acting is a lot realer than chit-chat at a dinner party. You better be real, especially if you're on a big screen, because people say, well, this isn't real, this is just fake. So, no, I think acting, and even for me personally, I will give myself over to a situation in a theatrical situation, as a movie or a play or something like that, much more than I would in life. Because in life, I will of necessity protect myself and not give my emotions and be open to whatever is going to happen. While in a theatrical situation, some part of me knows that I can give myself over and there's no real danger.
Well, the cliche is a lot of comedy is made out of sorrow and unhappiness, but it's also made out of other emotions, too, and for other reasons. I mean, comedy comes out of course, a lot of comedy comes out of real anger.
Get out of the way! Okay, here we go. Hold that, please.
I like to think you have to be miserable to be funny, and vice versa. I suppose there are people who aren't miserable and are funny, although an awful lot of the funny people I've worked with are miserable just by their very nature.
As you know from doing this interview, I'm not, in private life, an hilarious fellow. My wife finds me amusing sometimes, but I don't try to be funny, and I'm usually pretty serious. Not sad, but just like this. You know, I'm not trying to score by making jokes. And when I do make jokes, they're usually not that funny. They're kind of corny. But if I go in public somewhere, the first thing people say, come on, let's have one.
Yes. You're catching me natural. Nice to meet you. I'm an extrovert.
Really? And that reverse still working it out?
They're very protective of phrases and words and facial movements and intonations of their voice. I mean, things that the normal person just totally overlooks. They act as if they have a patent on.
I don't know. At a certain point, either something's funny to me or it isn't funny to me, and any sort of analysis beyond that is like sifting through your own feces. You know, it's just not terribly interesting or fun or revealing.
So you're going to just trust
Feces. I said feces. Sifting.
Some people are funny because they don't know they're funny. Some people know they're funny and could be funny. The worst thing is someone trying to be funny. Then you want to just, you feel so bad for them. Don't do that, please. And it's just, it's real hard to describe. I think it's just, it's a defense mechanism as far as what I see, is why I've done what I've done, is that, you know, usually I just brought up make fun of yourself before anyone else can.
You're 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 years old, and you want love and respect, and you're missing it somewhere from your parents or your surrogate parents. So you sing a song, or you do a tap dance, or you tell a joke, or you do something funny, and all of a sudden, honey, Henry, come in here. Look what Tommy can do. And all of a sudden, you're getting something. It sounded like love. Sounds like love to me.
Know when to back off. Be careful of piling it on. Stay away from groups.
Piling on is when a particular potential satirical target has just had enough, and any more is just simply piling on. The guy's already down. I mean, in the 70s it was Nixon jokes. In the I guess the late 80s and 90s it's Quayle jokes, and or I guess a reference to Jeffrey Archer in any decade.
When you're out there shooting, you have to get a particular scene, a particular day, and a particular shot at a certain time when the light is right, and all kinds of other things. You know that the next day you're moving on. If you didn't get it today, you haven't got it. And if you're going to go back another day, there's going to be a tremendous expense. And here, if you don't like it cut one way, you try another way. So to that extent, there's much less pressure.
It's a relief and a pain sometimes. You say, oh my God, we worked so hard to get that shot. It was in the rain, people were sliding, a guy cut his foot then, and I had a headache, and it doesn't work, and I got to cut it out. Cut it out. Those are painful, but it's easy because you say, you know, I knew I was in problem there, but I took this other angle to get out of that problem. There it is, it's gone, nobody will ever know it was there. So you can repair things, like repairing your life. If you imagine if you can edit your life and say, ooh, I'll take out that time I had mumps, and the time my wife was so angry with me she left the house. I'll take that out. You know, you'll edit your life. You do get that second chance in editing.
Presumably one of the things you learn in a test is where the laughs come, what spaces they need to be, so that the audience has room to laugh.
No, I never allow for that.
Really?
Never, I don't believe in that.
Does that mean you might miss some dialogue now and again?
Yes, tough. Otherwise, you put spaces in everywhere in the hope that an audience of 1,000 people is going to laugh. What happens when it's shown to 10 people? What happens when you see it at home on video, like the majority of the audience for this and every film does? You'd see incredibly slow films. And anyway, I believe you should keep the pace moving at the pace that's right for the action, right for the characters, and the audience will laugh as and when it can. It'll find spaces to laugh, but I never put in a space for laugh.
There's a new pet.
Tia.
Chia Pet, the pottery that grows. They are very fast.
People's attention spans are shrinking, but I think, well, they should be. I'm not opposed to that kind of change. I mean, you know, it's really hard for me to sit down and watch old movies, I regret to say, because they're so slow.
Simple. Plug it in and insert the plug from just about anything.
I like to watch things that are real fast. We get a lot of information quick.
Wait, world! Wait, world!
I mean, I have to turn the TV channels like constantly when I watch it. No one can watch it with me. Whoa! Whoa!
If it's going to be for real, make it quick.
Surreal.
Oh, surreal?
Yeah.
Oh. If it's going to be surreal, make it quick.
That didn't happen is a rule that I always think of in Airplane when one of the air controllers says,
Particularly miles off course. That's impossible. They're on instruments.
It's just a total fantasy, but if it's on the screen short enough, we can get away with it.
Testing films before they come out is something that all the studios do now, and I found it to be really helpful, because what happens is if the joke doesn't work, there's no laugh, and you just cut it out. There's like no question. You don't have to argue with the actor about it. You don't have to argue with the studio or the producer. You just cut it out.
Audiences are not very different. It's not like you're gonna show the movie somewhere and they're gonna dislike it, but they're the only ones. You happen to find the only 300 people in the world who aren't excited by this. I mean, you know if the picture hits them flat, you're going to have to work on it. You're not going to find another 300 people who are suddenly going to start doing somersaults over it. I mean, that just isn't going to happen.
You can never guess what an audience is going to do. They may laugh at a setup that you've been taking for granted. And when they see the setup, they'll start giggling before the thing even happened. You never expect that. And research screenings help you cut time out of a movie. Every comedy I've ever done has been anywhere from 2.5 hours on the first cut. And we always bring it down to an hour 45, an hour 30 sometimes.
But it's a good way of taking like this old blanket and shaking the dust out, because there are a lot of jokes which are hurting bigger jokes. So you eliminate, you comb out, you're constantly combing out screenings. How many screenings do we have? 8, 9?
Yeah.
9. League of Their Own, I can't tell you how many times that this movie has been jumbled around, removed things, parts. I don't think we've worked on a film that was taken apart as much as this film and put back together.
While we're screening the film, I bring in a portable tape recorder, and if there's an argument, if an actor says, there was a big laugh during that part, I zip down to it and I go, well, there isn't on the tape, dude.
Respect the fourth wall.
It's usually not good to remind an audience that they're watching a movie. In other words, when you break the fourth wall and suddenly a character is talking right in the camera.
It takes so many things to make love last. Most of all, it takes respect. And I can't live with the man I don't respect.
What a pisser.
Even though we kind of remind audiences that they're watching a movie, we get away with it. If it's short enough, which relates to the previous rule. The suspension of disbelief is very important, much as it was during the Reagan administration. There's a joke. Okay.
Why is it, if a man kills another man in battle, it's called heroic? Yet if he kills a man in the heat of passion, it's called murder.
Hello! What do you think you're doing? Only me and Garth get to talk to the camera. Come on.
I think it's becoming more and more a comedy technique that's used to, you know, break the frame, as you say, or, you know, step out of the movie for a moment, or to come from the point of view of the audience.
Yes, officer. Is there something wrong?
Have you seen this boy?
You know, audiences in comedy love in-jokes, and they love to be a part of this secret little way of thinking, you know. Makes them feel like they're special. So you play on those.
Well, the fat man needs to lose some weight.
Columbia Pictures presents Damon Wayans.
Hey, what's that, bro?
Mo Money.
We are now standing in 1004 of the Beverly Hills Four Seasons Hotel, and I, the comedy king, soon to be, trying to sell my movie Mo Money desperately to overseas So I'm standing here ready to be the biggest whore in the world.
Certainly have personality.
Today I've done about 30 interviews with some really wonderful people. And I am excited because this is my last interview. The 3 questions everybody have asked me so far is, no one's asked me how big my dick is. That's good. But it's pretty big. What do you do with your money? Like, I get money and run out and buy big hats and Cadillacs. I actually did buy Cadillacs. And you just want to say, fuck you, you know. Look, go see the movie is what you want to say, but I can't, you know, because nobody goes see the movie. This question is the worst one. Where did I get the idea? Where do we get ideas from? From brain. That's where I got the idea. For the most part, I look forward to getting back to my room so I can play with my balls. I have fun playing with my balls, literally. These are my balls. And it gets me ready to really play with my balls. Great dexterity. Is it hard being famous? The unfortunate thing about being a star, I hate that word, a movie star, is that I don't really meet real people anymore. People come to me and everybody's on their best behavior, you know. It's like the guy who's got like 2 teeth missing out the front of his mouth, who normally spits in your face when he talks, covers his mouth now. Hey, how you doing, man? It's nice to meet you, man. You know, and it's not real because they're, I don't know, somehow impressed by me, or I don't know, it's weird.
The thing about comedy that I think makes it a little different than other forms is the risk involved.
It's a tremendous risk to put yourself out there, because if it's not funny, everybody knows. It's not like drama where you can fool people into think, oh, this was great. This is, you know, reminiscent of the young Buñuel in his Blue period or something. But you can, in comedy, it's either, there's 2 speeds, on and off. There's no in between.
A big comedy that's a major turkey is a real turkey, because there's nothing like 2 hours or an hour and a half of a sullen audience sitting there with their eyes glazed over while the alleged laughs are going by. So I think comedians and comedy writers live in a constant state of anxiety because the risk they take comes up every few seconds in comedy. You know, if you have dead air in a mystery, it's just while you're waiting to be frightened. But if you have dead air in a comedy and nobody's laughing for 10 or 15 or 20 or 25 minutes, you're in deep, deep trouble.
So I'm talking to myself, trying to, I don't know, stay funny, think happy thoughts, because I'm ready to scream. It's like, no, I got all this anxiety. Is it going to be funny? It better be. That's what they tell me at Columbia. It better be. Comedy is basically dealing with the unknown. Like when you go to a funeral and you see the dead guy and you start crying because for a moment you see yourself there and you realize that you could be next. And it's just dealing with that. And it's the guy who's not afraid to be human, you know?
I just wish that studios and studio executives and producers were more tuned into what audiences really want to see. I mean, the only reason Wayne's World did very well is because there were no movies of that genre that appealed to that audience out there. And it's a huge audience, you know? And unfortunately, most people in power have not taken the time to understand that mentality, you know? It's confusing for them. And so unless those powerful people actually get out on the street and try to understand real people, then I don't think we're going to have any good movies, comedies or other.
Television is now where you can do really good quality things. In films, you have to worry about the blockbusters, where it used to be the other way around. You want to do schlock and get some money, you do television. But for your art, you do the films. So it leaves a poor chap like me in a lot of trouble.
Don't get too worthy. Never grind your axe. or scratch yourself in public.
Axe grinding is when you make you overdo a political point. I think you can get away with it when it's done in a satirical vein, as long as you pay for it with jokes, and I think that we try to do that in Naked Gun 2.5 with the environmental message.
I want to be known as the environmental police lieutenant. I want a world where Frank Jr. and all the Frank Jr.'s can sit under a shade tree, breathe the air, swim in the ocean, and go into a 7-Eleven without an interpreter.
When we have a picture that works, and we know it works, I really start to look forward to the real screenings, the screenings in real theaters with real audiences. And I can predict exactly where the laughs are, and I love it. And you sit there, and you're like, oh, here it comes, here it comes, here it comes, crack! You know, whatever it is, some 100 people, and that's my glory. I mean, I'm happy as could be. But like tonight's screening, the industry screening, I know we don't get that crack. We'll get appreciative, should do very well. You get that? So I don't live emotionally for should do very well. I live emotionally for boom. You know, that honest sound of...
If you're thinking about trying to make a comedy, I would say that, first of all, you need to use comedy writers, not some other kind of writers. And you need comedians in the roles, not just plain old actors. And you need a studio with a sense of humor. Good luck. And then you'll need to do some testing with an audience. Thank you.
There are no rules.
Last and final rule of comedy is there are no rules, which is another way of saying that you can't take the academic rules part of it too seriously, because we regularly break all of the rules.
Joey, you like movies about gladiators?
It can be broken, and I'm not saying you have to follow them, but just I wouldn't try these at home.
I'm Leslie Nielsen.